Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Ken Mewich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center. We're going to be talking about some very, very interesting information as we tear apart fibromyalgia and find out actually what the causes are and all the symptoms and everything and what can be done about it. There's so much misinformation, so to speak. And so we thought we would talk about the causes of fibromyalgia and the actual research that's been done on this, not someone guessing and so forth and so on. But I have to go back to the aspect that the fibromyalgia itself, based upon the research we have, is an inherited genetic problem. Okay, and actually, the basis is the retention of a compound called phosphate in your system. Excess amounts of phosphate, but actually affects calcium. So, what did this all start? Well, we have to look at the researcher himself, Dr. R. Paul St. Amand. He's an MD out of California, and he's an internist, endocrinologist, and also a researcher out of UCLA. So he's not someone that's come in from out of the cold and not have any information or knowledge about this. But I've met Dr. St. Amand, and he's just a wonderful individual. And the interesting thing about it is he has fibromyalgia. In 1945, when he was in the armed services, he actually started coming down with symptoms. Just like anybody that has fibromyalgia, you know, they move all over your body. He had swollen legs and feet, and he was fatigued, and he had aches and pains. The symptoms would come and go. They'd wax and wane, come back and forth, so forth and so on. He actually ended up in a hospital in the armed services where they did all sorts of tests, and they found all of them to be negative, and his symptoms went away for a while. And then they came back a little bit later, and it was one of those things where they was on and off, so forth and so on. When fibromyalgia patients first have the symptoms, that's exactly what happens. So he started doing a research, and this is what he found. Again, he found that it was an inherited genetic problem. The reason why he was able to surmise that and do research on it was that in his research working with patients, he found that the great-grandparents and the grandparents and then the children and the grandchildren and so forth, they would usually follow down a line. Now, some patients did not have fibromyalgia, or it did not show up symptomatically, but later on, oftentimes it did. Sometimes it missed people in a family, and you know, genetics works that way. We're still working on the specific genetic marker itself, but based upon the fact that genetically it has followed a family line, we know that there is a genetic aspect involved with it. So, we're talking about phosphate and calcium. Let's start, in effect, by actually studying and looking at something called the ever-ready batteries of your body, called mitochondria. Mitochondria are the energy batteries of your body. Without mitochondria, you're not going to live. You're not going to function. You're not going to be able to enjoy life because it actually takes food and turns it into energy. What am I talking about? Well, my speaking, my actions with my hands, my skin, your organs, your hair, your eyes, your ears, your nose, everything about you is dependent upon adenosine triphosphate in processing energy for your body. Now, the problem with that is that you can have problems if there's excess amounts. You know, the body is very, very sensitive. It's a nice, easy balance. But if there's excessive amounts on certain things, it can cause a lot of problems. If you have excess phosphate in your body that is hanging around and that is not easily evacuated, what happens is that you actually can have secondary problems as far as in diseases of the kidneys, the thyroid, parathyroid, hormones, all sorts of different things, and including your immune system because your body's constantly fighting this. So the correct amount of phosphate is extremely important. However, if you have excess amounts of phosphate in your system, it causes a lot of extra added problems. One of the things it does is actually pulls calcium out of your bones and out of your teeth. And the phosphate and calcium actually work negative positive. They have to have a reaction like that. And so the phosphate is extremely important. Now, calcium, you know, is extremely important for your body and your bones. Vitamin D actually helps it actually get into your system. It actually is for absorption. And so many people now I see walking around totally covered up without any sun. Believe me, you need some sun for the processing of vitamin D so that the calcium can be strong in your body. 15 minutes, face, arms, legs, so forth and so on. It will not harm you. Of course, if you've already had cancer, skin cancer, whatever else, you have to watch the amount. But still, you can't sacrifice bone strength for just getting some additional sun. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that once you've been in the sun, don't take a shower or a bath for about an hour or two, because it takes that long for the vitamin D to actually get the calcium to get processed and absorbed into your body. So be outside for about 15-20 minutes with your arms, legs, and face, so forth, uncovered if at all possible, and get your vitamin D working so it can actually process the calcium. That's very, very important. Most people, let's see, need the calcium, obviously, especially after the age of 50 and older. There's certain international units and so forth that you need, but just the regular amount on a daily basis would be good for you to make sure that you have enough health. So why is calcium important? Well, calcium, a lot of people don't realize, is a muscle stimulant. So if you want to move something or pick something up, what happens is the adenosine triphosphate, the ATP from the mitochondria, okay, stimulate the calcium, okay, to get into the muscle spindles. And it's very, very interesting. If you ever looked up muscles and muscle spindles, the calcium actually causes like a trigger, and the trigger snaps and the muscles then contract, so for strength, okay? And then the ATP is supposed to then pull that out and relax, so forth and so on, okay? But if you have excess amounts of phosphate, it burns out the mitochondria. It exhausts the mitochondria for producing ATP. Gives you enough for the trigger in a muscle, but then instead of ATP pulling the calcium back, it doesn't. So why is that important? Calcium, as I mentioned, is a muscle stimulant. If the muscles constantly are being triggered, okay, you don't have muscle relaxation. Why is that important? Because you heal on muscle relaxation and deep sleep. If your muscles are constantly contracting, you don't reach deep REM sleep. Well, most fibromyalgia patients have sleep problems. So deep REM sleep is here, and then you go down. This is when you start to heal, then come back up again, like so. That's your deep REM sleep. But for fibromyalgia patients, especially with this problem, they're up here. So even minor aches and pains or minor bruises or minor colds or whatever diseases you may have take forever, it seems like, to heal, because the muscles are constantly in a state of activity. I've talked to patients about this over and over again. Why am I feeling the way I am? And there's so many other side effects because of that. You know, muscles become a problem. If the muscles are overworked, they're constantly being, shall we say, stimulated. They're going to be fatigued. There's going to be weakness in muscles. And so that's going to lead to additional other problems that you have. So excess amounts of phosphate, burn out the adenosine triphosphate. That's the thing that keeps you going. You know, it's the energy of your body. Think about that. It's everything that you need. Whether you know you need your kidneys and liver and stomach and intestines and digestion and everything that in your body, your skin, your eyes, and so forth, that need to function properly. But if the excess amounts of phosphate are in there, it actually adversely affects the mitochondria. They actually can't produce enough adenosine triphosphate, and so there's a fatigue factor in that aspect. And again, as I mentioned to you, it causes also additional problems in kidneys and thyroid, parathyroid hormones, and of course the muscles now, because it affects the calcium. You know, it's interesting. I'd say 20 plus years ago, maybe even longer, where there were a number of fibromyalgia groups that were following Dr. Saint-Amand and his treatment protocol. Some doctor from Kansas, I think, came up with this thing. He came into town and did a talk about how it's not that, it's thyroid, and you need to have thyroid medication because thyroid is the problem that you're having for fibromyalgia, and that's what triggers fibromyalgia. So a whole bunch of people, fibromyalgia followers of Dr. Saint Amand, left and actually started following this doctor with his protocol with thyroid. The only problem with that is that you have to have your thyroid checked regularly. You just can't be taking thyroid medicine and expect it to be working. So you have some people that hyperthyroidism and had residual secondary conditions because of that. Jeez, my goodness. And what did I just say? Excess phosphate caused problems in kidneys, thyroid, parathyroid hormones. So he was like 2 steps back in front of, instead of in back of where he should have been, so to speak. And I don't know how many people have suffered problems from excess thyroid, or maybe not enough thyroid, or whatever. Maybe they had so much that they dropped down. Thyroid is extremely important for your body's function also. So we're tearing this down. We're trying to explain to you, research-wise, why you're having fibromyalgia and the symptoms that you're having. Now, the next time we talk, we're going to be talking about why these actually affect different symptoms and different things that come from the actual excess phosphate and calcium, and what you can look for as far as those symptoms and so forth that are concerned, because many times that is misunderstood. So that's what we're going to talk about next time, how this leads into the next step, so to speak, as far as fibromyalgia is concerned. Look, if you have family, friends, doctors, whatever else that might be interested, please have them give us an opportunity to visit with them through this live video. Every Monday at 12:30, I try to spend about 15 minutes on a specific subject on fibromyalgia and that which we have seen as far as in our clinic with patients. And it just follows to form so greatly. It's just really fascinating and interesting how this follows a certain script, so to speak, of what Dr. Saint Amand has found. Well, if you want to look up, he wrote the first real book on fibromyalgia, which your doctor won't tell you about fibromyalgia. You can get information on that. And also pediatrics, working with children, because a lot of them start having problems when they're younger. Then all of a sudden, they get into the pharmaceutical fix of having different medicines and so forth thrown at them, instead of looking into more detail. Anyway, so this is Dr. Ken Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, and we will see you next Monday at, again, 12:30 for another presentation on fibromyalgia as we tear fibromyalgia apart and look at it in a much more detailed fashion, why you're having the problems that you're having, and also eventually what you can do about it. Take care, everybody. Everybody have a great week. Look forward to seeing you next week. And again, invite your family, friends, doctors, whatever, because we may have that little nugget of information that is what we call an aha. Is that what it is, so to speak, type of information. Don't be afraid to contact us. My email is dcken2000@cs.com. D as in dog, C as in cat, Ken, K-E-N, the number 2000, 2000 at C as in cat, S as in Sam.com, or you can look up the Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, fibrowellnesscenter.com. That's our website. Give me a call at the clinic, 480-948-4955, 480-948-4955. Dr. Saint Amand is about 90 years old now, still working full-time. I don't have fibromyalgia, but I certainly have a wealth of information for you because I've been working with fibromyalgia patients since 1990, probably longer than most of your doctors that are in practice. Take care. Look forward to visiting with you again next week. Each and every one of these are saved, so take advantage of it. This is number 75. Bye-bye.